Hi and welcome to the Tristan Channel, and today I'll be talking about the topic of detransitioning. Now, I've mentioned this in my top 10 or so myths about transgender individuals and did a video on it, but felt like it needed revisiting to make things more clearer. Even though I'm finding this debunking business tiresome and repetitive. So anyway, detransitioning is brought up in many circles as a big thing, especially the right-wing conservative news outlets who use this against the trans community as ammo. This has created the environment where some in the trans community will have attacked those who are openly detransitioning, which is really unfortunate and bad press for the community that wants respect and inclusiveness. But this whole situation is silly because detransitioning isn't that much of a big phenomena. Very few actually detransition. Like I said in my other video, less than 1% out of 3,398 alone in 2016 to 2017 detransitioned. However, not like because the right-wing media says, e.g. because they realised they were deluded. No, but mainly because of these following reasons. Financial issues, lack of support in family, fear of being trans in their community or within family environment, fear of surgery. However, what you don't hear is out of this 1%, quite a few of them will change their minds and go through the procedure. Now, there's a rumour they're trying to cover up detransitioning. That's not quite the truth. The basic truth is being debunked or not seen as a big enough issue to address because the numbers are really low. Even those who genuinely change their minds because they believe they were mistaken are of a low ratio, plus blown out proportion by right-wing media. But especially in America, the conservatives, which latch desperately at straws to find something to throw out there. They need Also, detransitioning isn't dangerous. Most detransition before level 2, e.g. before HRT. A lot of people don't know or understand the process of someone transitioning. You are monitored and evaluated by medical experts before you progress or as you progress or get permission to go to the next stage. There is also a bullshit rumour going around saying that puberty blockers cause sterilisation due to being allegedly used to chemically castrate paedophiles. This was a lie, oddly enough, produced by the anti-trans right-wing media outlet Daily Wire, a site that ironically is sexist and racist also. No surprise there. Unfortunately, they have a large following that spreads their poison around. Puberty blockers are perfectly safe. They were in use before using them in gender reassignment. They were mostly used with children with medical problems during puberty and even in young adults with hormone issues. If you stop taking them, your body will carry on like nothing happened. Your body will go back to doing its thing. It's funny because at times people don't realise how incredible the human body is. But yes, mostly ones who detransition, the ones who are on blockers, for example, just come off. The ones who aren't on blockers, well, what's so dreadful about them changing their wardrobe and their appearance? So you see, it's not that much of a major worry for anyone to go screaming about. Now, the hostility is mainly due to the environment which has been created. However, if there is a small group of trans individuals who are genuinely ignorant of the facts, attacking those who are detransitioning, then they're dicks, because nothing about detransitioning threatens your validity as a trans woman or a trans man. If people are using detransitioning as an argument against the trans community, then to a degree they are dicks too, because it's such a mute issue. Yes, it's good to know about these things, but not worth shouting angrily about from the top of a mountain. According to Stonewall, most people who transition do so without any regrets. Detransitioning is very rare, but it does happen. Academic research analysis showed, as I stated above, that of the 3,398 trans patients who had appointments at the NHS Gender Identity Service between 2016 and 2017, less than 1% said in those appointments that they had experienced transition-related regret or had detransitioned. However, just because people have detransitioned, it doesn't make that experience and existence of trans people any less valid or real. Detransition does not in of itself mean regret. It can mean that that person no longer identifies as trans, or feel they are now a different gender to the one they previously identified as. This is a discovery that may not have been able to come without taking the path they did. It's also worth highlighting that some statistics out there that look at rates of regret focus on whether a person regrets a specific surgery, not whether they regret transition. What we know from the research is that those acknowledgements of regret are actually most often related to unsatisfactory surgical results. We also forget that gender identity services, for example in Britain, are hugely under-supported and under-resourced. Waiting times for appointments at these clinics can be up to 2 years, and patients can be forced to travel hundreds of miles to be seen. There's no profit in them covering it up, oddly enough. The lack of funding to ensure trans young people and those who may be questioning their gender are given the high quality care and support they have a right to expect. This is a serious problem that needs to be addressed. Sorry, mouse dry. We need to understand and respect that the reasons why someone detransitions are often complex and nuanced, contrary to what some in the media and online may say. The most common reason for detransition is the person couldn't cope with the family and community support they lost, and experiences transphobia. Transphobia, folks. Where others may detransition because they are unable to find a job or housing. Stonewall found that 1 in 7 trans people, that's 14%, aren't open about who they are to anyone in their family, while 1 in 4, that's 25%, were discriminated against when looking for a house or flat. Just look at the story of Kate Hutchinson, a trans woman who detransitioned for a period of time due to transphobia. As Kate writes, "The only time I saw visible trans people were when they were the focus of nasty jokes in the media or sensationalist headlines. I would get the same abuse in the street, and I saw no empathy or understanding in society as a whole for trans folks." Unfortunately, there are no definitive statistic or number that shows how many people choose to retransition once they have more support structures in place. So anyone who is concerned about detransitioning should be equally concerned with challenging the transphobia that is rife across our society. Well, it clearly is by and we can't treat detransition as the end of a person's journey in exploring their gender identity, as many will choose to retransition at a later point when they are safe and supported. The policing of people who don't conform to gender norms and stereotypes doesn't just affect trans people. The demonization of tomboys, butch lesbians, and feminine gay men is deeply harmful and shows the extent that misunderstanding these conversations around gender identity can affect us all. So you see, it's not a big enough issue to use against trans people, nor for a minority of trans people to attack their fellow members who detransitioned. Transitioning and detransitioning are both professionally monitored and supervised. I keep hearing this being brought up and felt it needed revisiting, because it's an issue that's been blown out of proportion, especially in America, thanks to right-wing conservative nutjobs who are anti-feminist, anti-abortion, you name it, they hate it. And and some think there's a big conspiracy to turn everyone gay or trans by putting something in the water and exchange. Those who claim that the 1% is inaccurate or is a lie, well, their evidence is not an academic source, but by evidence of what someone said randomly on YouTube. Now, yes, there may not be a definitive percentage of those who retransition. They pretty much do have a figure for those who detransition, because these people have told them, or told them that they cancelled, etc. If my doctor put me on a form of medical treatment and I changed my mind, he's gonna know about it and why. The system may not be perfect, but they're not that incompetent. One famous study that came out claiming that 80% were detransitioning was flawed. The study in question did not differentiate between the following: young people with gender dysphoria, young people who socially but not medically transitioned, young people who were simply exploring gender diversity. In fact, nearly half of the children involved in the study could not be located at its conclusion. They were recorded as desisters by default and thus detransitioners. The only justifiable conclusion that could be drawn from the study on a subsequent review of its data was that strong gender dysphoria was a good predictor of future medical transition. Now, the impacts of the misinformation around detransitioning, when the possibility of detransition is prioritised, it can lead to gender-affirming care for children and adults being withheld. Some healthcare professionals may wonder how they can support a trans person in their medical transition if there is a possibility that they may change their mind, and especially young people, and especially in light of the fact that some of the physical changes brought about by gender affirming medication are irreversible. Misinformation around how and why people can stop medical transition has led to widespread misconceptions about transgender people and healthcare. Because of this, it's really important to know the facts. It's sometimes suggested that lots of trans people later regret their transition. In fact, almost none of them do. In 2022, the figures are as follows. UK, a survey of 3,398 attendees of a gender identity clinic found that just 16, about 0.47%, experienced transition-related regret. Of these, even fewer went on to actually detransition and become detransitioners. USA, a survey of nearly 28,000 people found that 8%, not 80, but 8% of respondents reported some kind of detransition. Of this 8%, 62% only did so temporarily due to social, financial or family pressures. Sweden, a 50-year longitudinal study on a cohort of 767 transgender people found that around 2% of participants expressed regret following gender-affirming surgery, although it is unclear how many of these participants were detransitioning as a consequence. Netherlands. A study of transgender young people found that only 1.9% of young people on puberty blockers did not want to continue with the medical transition. So yeah, where do you want to go with this? What more is needed to be? What more is needed to be said? The real issue is people latching on to misinformation and not the facts. So with this video I've covered some old ground and some new ground, but I hope I've given you a clear image on this topic and the truth behind it. Unfortunately, misinformation is rampant in society, especially within the right-wing media outlets of America and even on YouTube. I know, ironic, because I'm doing this video for YouTube. Anyway, I hope you found this video insightful. I would advise this: if you generally want to research what it's like for transgender individuals, read books written by them, get into their minds. One book I recommend is Gender Euphoria, edited by Laura Kate Dell. You can get it on Amazon, whatever, or eBay. Until the next video then, take care and be well.